if you go from here in full knowing the truth about you, you're no longer hidden or veiled. Fourth dimension, which is like a twinkling of an eye, you get leveled up with lessons. There's teachers on the fourth dimension and there's no time there. So everything you need to know is immediately equipped and you ride into the fifth dimension. And this is the process. And I'm only giving these numbers and these terms because it helps you understand just the logical stage of process here. However, there's things below this because this is all set up in layers. As I said before, there's layers to this stuff. So there's what they call the doom zone, which is like right next door. There's other realms like where the animals go to, like Pet Snooky. And a few of my pets that have left out of here, there's a place where they are. And so I'm going to explain how this is all set up and how all this is leveled. Anybody that's occultist knows when you see the symbol they use shows the big scimitar over the head of who is Ma'at. That is that symbol. This is called the jewel. The jewel shows a sword and it shows it over the head of what looks like a pharaoh, which is a female pharaoh. Versus the ancient one, the sword is below her. That's all it takes to change something. All one glove. Right now, we have to start realizing that, first of all, we've been dumbed down because we have a opposable thumb manifesting on this dimension. The issue with Ifrit, Jinn, and many of the other entities that boast that they have so much power is some of them metaphysically, spiritually, and physically still have a hoof. And if you ever try to grab something with a hoof and do electrical calculations and all sorts of stuff and calibrate tools, it is very difficult. This is a builder. Every single star you see on a United States flag is mimicry of the ancient knowledge of the Moorish nation that every star is a being, meaning that every star on the pentagram means a being that is being worked with. I don't want to say the word demon. A being is being worked with. So they're saying we have 50 stars on it. We have 50 different entities that we're working with that are all chiefs and all kings. Anybody who sees a pentagram as an occultist knows what that means. So China is saying we have one great red dragon that is probably the equivalent of at least 50 of your or 49 of your other type of jinn and beings. Okay. Now, the reason why this has to come into context is because you got to remember that even things like math, when we say algebra is a being. That is a term of aljabar, meaning the great, right? The mighty one. Okay. So right away, we see that there's a lot of words that we're using every single day that tell you where all the knowledge was coming from. So when they prance around with these big scimitar swords and they play around in their lepo lodges, like I said, in their masonry, and they put all this ancient Oriental regalia there from the same country that they're bombing, you can tell that they don't have any respect for what that is. And that's why anybody that's occultist knows when you see the symbol they use shows the big scimitar over the head of who is Ma'at. That is that symbol. This is called the jewel. The jewel shows a sword and it shows it over the head of what looks like a pharaoh, which is a female pharaoh. Versus the ancient one, the sword is below her. That's all it takes to change something. The one they use is saying we're chopping off the head of the knowledge. We're hiding this knowledge about the genie, the jinn, the female, and all of what goes on in that womb, that mind, and that world. We're going to confuse all of that. And then we're going to bring in these certain group of beings. And these group of beings are always, they're battle hungry, battle driven, like the whole Valhalla idea. Every being is only getting strengthened more based on its victories, based on how many things it kills. And I'm explaining how all that works with the vicar, how all that works with the Abrahamic traditions, and what really went on in the astral plane, or what you would say is the astral plane, the dream world, if you may, but which is really just the other realm. What happened? There was a war like phased out in the new idea, because this also created a lot of the territorialism that we see that we still kind of see remnants of, but it was crazy. There was always a war here. And this is why some of the bigger beings was like, yo, they're making noise all the time. That's what they call it. Making noise. They don't call it war. You have not seen war. When the macrobes go into it, man, they say the vault even comes off hinges. They cut it out. The parents stop fighting. I don't know if y'all ever had fighting parents before, but the whole house gets to shaking. It's like, what the hell? It's all over, mommy and daddy. No. So we're talking about still down here. They call this making noise when we're fighting. And they were all, the Jinn, the Ifrits, and all the rest of them, I'm giving them default terms. We're always fighting like territorial type stuff. The same thing you see in nature, because their queen, who's Neter, Inanna, Venus, whoever you want to call her, Ashtaroth, whatever name you want to give her, like she's birthing and making beings, names, all this. So everywhere you go, you're going to basically find her. Lilith, whatever, you're just going to keep hitting that same wall until you realize, oh shit, I'm in this. And it's coming from every single angle. So check this out. This is how it is popping off. So again, so they're always conflicting. These badass kids, they're always fighting. Like the whole thing was to just prove how, if you ever watch lions, if you ever watch dogs, and quite a few other beings, especially the ones you see in the paintings, elephants even, you think the elephant is all nice, run up. Run up. Y'all be thinking some of this stuff is like what Disney be showing y'all. Like you're going to go out there and namaste and everything is going to, No, that's not going to happen in the wild. The only one who gets that level of respect is actually those who are affiliated with the mistress of speech, as they call her. And they call her that way because she can talk to these beings. Like, this is also where the disconnect comes in the code, because as it's encrypted in the Bible, now we shut up the mouth of the beasts. What this means is that now we don't speak the same language as the animals anymore, because this is a new day. Now, what I'm talking to you about also was completely PR'd, flipped, redone, and taken by the Jesuit and created as Christianity. Okay? They totally capitalized on the aspects of how the sun works, bring something in new. Now it's a day. We're going from evening, the night, to the day. Now everything is absolved, solar victus. Let me show you the key words. New laws, a new king, Rex. Rex means king in Latin, right? Rex, lex. Lex means law. Rex lex. Okay, this is the new day, the new sun king. Now, when you take this into externalization, you get Catholicism. When you internalize this, you get the formula of absolving yourself from any debt. This is how you know this is fact. What do they say that the external Jesus is supposed to be able to do? Absolve you from what? Sins. Okay. This is interesting because the word sin actually means the moon. So this rebirth, which has already taken place when you came through the water, was really about absolving you from your debts or sins from the past life, your last memories. So they repurposed all of that, made physical beings to correspond to it, a man, everything that is there, because as above, so below. They bought a physical character, and that's why people believe it so much, because they know there's an essence of being absolved from something by the sun, and these are just the denominators that they're being given. And maybe some actually break through into a conduit of some sort when they're asleep, and the mind dissolves all of what they've learned about that tradition into what it really means. Okay, which I can say probably could happen in a twinkling of an eye. I haven't given up hope on them, that it's possible that what is laying within the Christian mind is about to actually awaken, and it's not going to happen verbally. It's going to happen through some kind of chemical something that goes on inside of them. And then within a twinkling of an eye, they realize everything I'm just explaining to you right now. Now you imagine that's going to be shocking, because it's going to be like all of a sudden the wool has been taken off their eyes. Now listen to this. So Rex Lex is a new king. The reason why these words, again, they come out in external, they come out in the Latin, because the Latin king calls himself Rex, and then he passes laws throughout the land. These are the new rules. This is a new day. Here's Lex. And to go against Rex and Lex on a metaphysical level, which is R and L, all the ancient languages consist only as a variant of R and L. The R is the left of the cube. The L is the right, vice versa, the right and the left of the positions of the cube. This is the double-edged sword. The double-edged sword is a reference to two languages, which is Arabic and Hebrew. This is the double-edged sword. Okay? And the difference between Arabic and Hebrew is an R and an L. One is about the law. One is about rulership. One wants to rule. The other one wants to control through laws. And that's how they split the kingdom. Okay, so this is the external system that has been put in place to actually plagiarize the sun and the moon and all the stars. Because you're also a star. And so I'm going to show you how this all starts playing out with entities, why they have pentagrams on the flag, why they're still working with many of the invisible entities. Do you know that you won't find really anyone that is quote unquote famous that doesn't cast or have someone that cast? Meaning that even LeBron James is seen in there with a rabbi casting his future, trying to explain to him what decisions and rules he needs to make, what numbers he should be having on his jersey, all of that kind of stuff. So there's nobody that has a lot of money that is not going to a soothsayer or going to some other person who has a real sharif. They're still sharifs, wazirs, still on the realm. Bedouins, sharifs, wazirs. There's so many names, there's so many terms. That's how numerous it was and still is, but it's on hush. Because the only thing that has been agreed on now is that it's not going to be talked about until a time and into a season. And this time and the season is actually right now. This also lets me know, as they say, hey, if you can look at the sky and predict what's going to happen, surely you can predict what comes next. This is a metaphor to mean once this knowledge starts coming out, once it starts to become aware to the conscious, you know what time you're in. This also means that the transitions are ready, the next level, the next jump. There's calculations that say by 2022, the beings that have been running most of the spiritual show are going to reveal themselves directly to humanity. This is also a time where the consciousness is going to activate also. So you could see where a person could get totally confused if they're still on the path that they're on now and they don't realize that the power is within them. And then all of a sudden this thing activates, allow them to become aware of more things. And then they just become aware of the things that know when to show up when you actually are become aware of some stuff, but not everything because you lack wisdom. If you lack this wisdom is known as the wisdom of Solomon. The wisdom of Solomon is a code. It is not a person. It's about the soul. It's about and it's about on. Now, you know your stuff. Now you learned about the soul, right? And now on, the god of Heliopolis, meaning the last thing that turns it as you flip your light on what? On. Do you not think that word would have some big connection to how everything is going to work? Especially if we're talking about activation and awakening. When is the lights going to turn on?